Welcome to the first full show for a progressive revolution. I am your host, Elliot Bernard, and today we're going to be talking about a variety of issues. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the goddamn, ironically, same-sex marriage, plebiscite survey thing, whatever it is we're calling it now. I've got 3 stories from that. One genuinely has me angry. The other one has me less angry, but it's still not great. There are a few areas that I want to touch on with that story, and then finally, as a bit of a lighter note, massive, huge fail. So that's sort of the first lot of stories we're going to be talking about, and then finally we're going to be looking back to a story that I covered at the very beginning of the channel, plus Victoria looking to get money out of politics. That would have been the top story, but so much shit's gone on this week, so let's get right to it. So a couple of days ago, as I'm recording, Tony Abbott was assaulted whilst in Tasmania. This genuinely has me, especially when I first heard it, in an absolute rage. I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Violence is not only wrong, but it is counterproductive to your cause. There is absolutely no excuse or legitimate reason to attack someone, regardless of their political ideology or beliefs. This was an absolutely disgraceful act, and why this angers me so much is that this is a legitimate issue, and what this person has managed to do, again, unfortunately, is that they've managed to delegitimize a legitimate issue. I said this on Twitter, actually. You can follow me at EBW Progress. I said this on Twitter that all you've done is that you've given the No movement ammunition. You've given them ammunition to delegitimize the Yes movement as a violent ragtag of individuals that want to cause mayhem. And that's not what this is about. But congratulations, you've now managed to give them a super easy softball target. So they don't have to deal with the issues now, they just get to attack you, me, and anyone else that is going to vote yes. Violence is not the answer. And this one action, along with several others, have managed to, again, they've given the No movement a soft target. And someone, I don't know, it was a random guy on Twitter who said, congratulations, you've now managed to alienate people that were on the fence about this. I don't agree with that to a large extent, but I do think that there are going to be some people that are going to be very put off by this. The reality is that Tony Abbott is one of the biggest political figures at the moment. He's managed to revive his career off of this. It doesn't matter who it is, but in particular attacking Tony Abbott was just a really, really crap idea. This is not okay, and we should all speak out against this. But by the same token, this is a representation of a very tiny minority of the people that agree that same-sex marriage should be legalized in this country and catch up with with a large percentage of the world. This was a really, really just a terrible, terrible thing, and we should all speak out against actions like this, regardless of the perpetrator. Okay, now the stories are not going to get any lighter from here. An 18-year-old girl was fired for adding a banner to her Facebook profile which said it's okay to vote no. Now, whilst I might disagree with this 18-year-old, and whilst, according to polling, the majority of the people disagree with her, that does not make it okay to fire someone over this. Now, we're going to get into the reasoning why. And by the way, this is not an alleged firing over this. Madeline Sims, who was the employer, actually came out and said, no, this is exactly why I fired her. And now there's going to be an investigation as to whether this was an unlawful firing or not. So Madeline Sims is claiming that this 18-year-old is a danger to children and that her political beliefs are hate speech. First of all, I want to say straight off the bat, she shouldn't have been fired. Straight out. She should not have been fired. Now, whether it's hate speech or not, I think is a different question. I think that's a little bit more grey. I don't think that it's hate speech. you would actually have to prove that her beliefs were hateful. And I don't agree with the notion that everyone voting no is hateful. I just don't think that that's true. I think there are a lot of reasons why. First of all, this particular... now, I've been accused in the past of making this about religion. This isn't true. I've just covered stories that just so happen to be for religious belief, that have claimed they're going to vote no through religious reasons, and that's why I bring up religion. So I just want to claim that now before I get attacked again for that. So she was born. So she was believed she was brought up. She was brought up religious. So therefore, she's been indoctrinated. I know people don't like that word, but still, she's been indoctrinated to believe that the Bible is correct. And that because the Bible says that marriage is between a man and a woman, therefore that she will vote no. That does not mean that she hates the gays. It just means that according to her interpretation of the Bible, that she should, as a diehard Christian, that she should vote no. So in order for it to be hate speech, in my opinion anyway, you would have to prove that the speech is hateful. So if she if she posted a filter over her profile that said vote no because insert gays are, and then insert whatever slur you want to use, that in that case would be hate speech, and that would be a different issue. But in this case, you just said, look, I'm going to vote no. Look, we can't now. Look, this case is important because we cannot set a precedent where people publicize their political beliefs and then start getting fired. We cannot set that precedent. It doesn't matter if you're a lefty, right, conservative, progressive, libertarian, whatever. No one in Australia or any other country should be able to be fired because of their political beliefs. Now, it's different if your political beliefs prevent you from doing your job. So, for example, if you're a Muslim and you don't want to handle pork, but you still want a job in an area where you are handling pork, then that's a sad day for you. Then I'm not going to hire you because you're unwilling to work with pork. So, but in this case, it's not. She was working as this 18-year-old was working as a child's entertainer as Minnie Mouse. So I should have put that at the beginning. So I apologize for not saying that at the very beginning. She should not have been fired. Full stop. You know what's really great about this is that she's still employed somewhere else as a nanny. So. And apparently they have already assured her that, look, hey, you have a different political belief, but I'm not going to fire you over it. So she should not have been fired. No one should be fired over their political beliefs. I do not care what they are. And to say this is hate speech, I don't think Madeleine Sims is going to be able to prove that. And this could end up being a more important case than what it appears right now. So continue to keep an eye on this case because it could end up being rather important. Now, the other interesting point that has been made about this is that is there not hypocrisy about? So on the one hand, you can't fire someone for their political beliefs, but you can fire someone for their religious beliefs. That is, of course, one of the Catholic Church's requirements if the yes vote goes ahead, is that they've literally said that they want the power to be able to discriminate against gay people and people that are willing to marry gay people. So now obviously that comes under religious protection. So again, that's an entirely different debate, and I'm not going to get into that now. But that is a very interesting conversation to have. So we've already set the precedent that you're able to discriminate against people because of religious beliefs. So can you also do that for political beliefs? I don't agree with either of those cases. I don't think you should really be able to discriminate against anyone. But the Catholic Church is also not a private business. So it's a quite grey area. Personally, I'm not for discrimination of any kind. But when it comes to religious establishments, it does get quite complicated. It is a very grey area. So I'm not. Yeah. So I'm not. I'm gonna end it here. But it is a it is an interesting conversation to have. So as I said, this story has actually brought up more issues than what have been presented when people have just casually talked about this story. So stay tuned. So yeah, Cory Bernardi did a massive epic fail, and it made my week. It was a big part of making my week. Oh my god, this was so okay. So basically, there is this charity drive going on at a school where men and women, I guess boys and girls, dress up in dresses to support charity. Cory Bernardi sends out a tweet, which I'll put a link in for. Cory Bernardi says, I'll just get my computer so I can read it. Cory Bernardi says, one school in SA now has a dress day. This gender morphing is really getting absurd. Now, Cory Bernardi was clearly not aware this was for charity. Oops to daisy. Anyway, as a result of this, the school in question, their original aim of their original goal was $9,000. They managed to raise $200,000 because of this tweet. This was awesome. So then Cory Bernardi put out a statement saying, to paraphrase, he didn't apologize, but at the same time he was like, okay, it's for charity. Good for them. It was just like, you could say, well, he wasn't willing to apologize, but at the same time he was just like, oh shit, oh dear God, oh no, I just accidentally attacked a charity. Oh God, swim away. It's fine, oh shit. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. And now thank God I have no more stories about the post-plebiscite. I just want to say, I don't necessarily overly enjoy doing these stories. And I get that probably like half my channel is about this goddamn survey. But it is important, and we do have to talk about it, because the more we talk about it, the more we can understand each other's positions. So yeah, I'm not going to apologize for talking about it, but at the same time, what do you expect me to do? It's in the news every week. So now moving on to SA. I did a story about Lisa Vlahos very early on in this channel's existence, and I said that the reason why she didn't get fired, and by the way, watch the video if you want to know more. The reason why she couldn't get fired was due to her connections with the SA donor class. Fast forward to now, and down goes Vlahos. Down goes Vlahos. So Lisa Vlahos resigned from cabinet. She's not quitting politics. She's resigned from cabinet, so she'll be replaced. But then a day before that, down goes Jack Snelling. Down goes Jack Snelling. So basically, reasonings for he is actually just fully resigning. I don't know when his full resignation goes in, but apparently he's done. So he was the former health minister, and basically, if anyone follows SA politics, you'll know that his time as health minister was a bit of a mess. So you can just see that clearly there's just been a conversation of like, okay, look, you're more of a liability. We have an election coming up in 6 months, so you need to clean up and go home. And he's just gone, well, fuck it, I may as well just retire. And Lisa Vlahos was in her portfolio role was just incompetent, and there managed to be a couple of aged care centers where like old people were murdered. So she kind of had to go. And with an election coming up in 6 months. Now, to be honest, she probably would have retained a seat because she has one of the safest seats in the state. So they're getting replaced, and it's clearly a fresh start so that they can focus on the next election without too many, without the ongoing controversy of there being on. The controversy is still going to exist because it still happened, but at least they'll be able to be like, well, at least Jay Weber, who's the premier for SA, is just going to be able to be like, well, we got rid of them. I mean, it took us 6 months, but we got rid of them. We fired them. They resigned. But I can imagine there being some pressure being put on them to do that. So anyway, that was just a quick update story. Okay. Now we're going to move on to something really random. We're going to move on to professional wrestling. What is this? Right. So first of all, for transparency, I'm a massive pro wrestling fan. I absolutely love pro wrestling. What people have not loved, however, is Jinder Mahal as the current reigning and defending WWE Champion. he has a 25% win record, and he's held the same title that people like Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and the Ultimate Warrior. So, oops. Anyway, but the reason why we're talking about this is because he cut a racist promo. Now, everyone's agreeing that it was a racist promo. Now, obviously, I can't put the video up for copyright reasons, but basically, his challenger for the next pay-per-view is Japanese, and basically he cut a promo comparing him to stereotypical Japanese mannerisms and broken English. So, in fact, this actually caught mainstream attention when the Washington Post picked it up. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is a couple of reasons. One, as a huge pro wrestling fan, this should once again show that doing the foreign heel gimmick, which is basically where it's a non-American person hating on America, it's outdated. Yes, it's been around since the beginning of the 20th century. That's how long this gimmick's been going, and it's in 2017, it is probably not the best gimmick to be running. And plus, it's lazy storytelling. And again, the reason why we're bringing it up, because obviously we're a political channel, I wanted to bring this up because this is evidence to show that, racism is not dead. And just because it's coming from an Indian Canadian to a Japanese guy, that's not okay. Especially when we're talking about, one of the highest viewed shows on network television. Maybe don't cut a racist promo, and it was scripted, so it wasn't like this was ad-lib, because otherwise this would be about Jinder, but it's not. It's about whoever, the guys that come up with the awful script for this, and they didn't see a problem with it, and it probably would have got approved, and no one managed to see a problem with it. Now, I'm not saying that those guys are racist. I'm not making any of those accusations. I'm just saying this was a very, very bad idea. And this just shows that racism is not dead, regardless of country. Racism still exists, much like homophobia still exists, and all the rest of it. Anyway, so I just wanted to make a political point, and plus as well, I just want to point out, lazy storytelling, please stop the foreign heel. Just because you're not from the country that you're in does not necessarily automatically make you a bad guy. I once heard someone claim that it was hurtful to society, and I do agree with that to a degree. I think it can be done. It just needs to be updated rather than just taking a model that was made in 1900 and then just continuing it. I don't think that's great. And this looks even worse to people that don't watch pro wrestling, because for the rest of us that watch this is just oh, it's another foreign heel gimmick. Okay. Whereas to people that don't watch it, they hear this thing and going, oh dear God, what the hell's going on in professional wrestling? Thank God I don't watch that. So this promo wasn't good for anyone. Now let's talk about the main event, the very last story we're going to be talking about, and that is the Premier of Victoria making efforts to get money out of politics. So there's one thing that I've been extremely consistent on APR is my want to get money out of politics because of the corrupting influence that it has on our politicians, and the fact that it incentivizes them to represent their donors rather than the people. Now, with that being said, Victoria Premier is doing donation reform. Hallelujah that this is happening. This is well and truly overdue. Now, the bill isn't, to my knowledge, the bill has not been presented as of yet, but the intention has been given, and the bill will be presented whenever it ends up getting presented. Now, I'm going to explain what is in this bill and what is not in this bill, because what is not in this bill is actually important. So Daniel Andrews is going to be presenting this, and I'm going to tell you what's in it according to the Herald Sun. I'm going to read from the Herald Sun and tell you exactly what is in this. So, in a surprise move, Daniel Andrews' Labour government has flagged a 4,000 cap on election donations from a single personal entity. Foreign donations will be banned, and donations of more than 1,000 would have to be disclosed in real time. At the moment, for those who don't know, any amount can be given, and you have to be over 13,200 Australian dollars in order for it to be disclosed. And that's not a cumulative, that's per donation. What I don't know is, I don't know if that $1,000 is a cumulative or per donation, because at the moment what donors can do is that they can donate $13,199 and it doesn't get disclosed on the Electoral Commission website where they've got all the donor list. It doesn't get added. And then they can basically just keep on donating $13,199 over and over and over again, and we never know where that money actually comes from, which is highly problematic in a democracy where you want to know who your politicians are beholden to. Now, there are some donors that don't give a damn, like the banks and the fossil fuel industry, and they just give a ton of money to politicians. There was one guy that gave $1.3 million who's from the fossil fuel industry to the coalition, which is obviously highly problematic. Because, oh golly gee, I wonder why they don't want to make massive reforms on fossil fuel. I wonder why that could be. Now, there is a this magical concern that we would have to more taxpayers' money would go to political parties, which I say, of course it would. No, duh. That makes more sense. Look, here's the thing. If you have the option between political parties being beholden to corporations and multinationals, or being beholden to taxpayer dollars, I know which one of those two I'm going to prefer. So this is a great first step. Now, what is not in this bill is disclosing of other types of political donations. So this bill is covering direct donations. It is not covering other donations. So let me explain. This bill is targeting when you give directly to the party. What this is not doing is two things it's not doing. Number one, it's not preventing what happens now where federal parties can smuggle the money through, like, so for example, like the Labour Party, for example, if they get a ton of donations from for their federal branch, they can funnel it down to the states. So this bill does not do anything about that. It's not like they're saying, oh golly gee, federal Labour can no longer give us cash. That still happens. So that money that's coming from the donors to the federal level can still be given to the state level. Now, the other thing this is not covering is other forms of donations. So, for example, what a lot of these parties do is that they will hold galas and dinners where the entry is, say, like $1,000 to $10,000, depending on what kind of event it is. And it's still a political it's still political donations, because obviously the only people that are going to be willing to spend $1,000 to $10,000 on a dinner is incredibly rich people that are representatives from multinational and corporations. So this doesn't disclose any of those. So it's not like they're saying, oh, okay, well, when we do these very public events where we get money, we have to show our guest list. It's not saying that it's not saying that there's no limit on these events. So this bill is purely for direct donations. It doesn't do anything about all the other sorts of political bribes. Or sorry, not bribes, donations. I'm sorry. But yeah, so this is a great first step. I don't want to take that away, but at the same time, there's so much more that can be done. And the more people know about this issue, the more that more people want to do about it. So that's always good. Anyway, so that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. We covered all sorts of stuff today. So basically the new format is going to be that every Sunday a full show will come out, and then I will then release the individual segments throughout the week. So you can kind of choose. So that way you can either watch the whole show on a Sunday, or if you decide, hey, I'm so sick of hearing about this postal survey, let's hear about the pro wrestling story, for instance, then you can just watch that, and that's cool. And also as well, this will help me out with the YouTube algorithm, because it's now favoring people that release videos every day, and this will, depending on how long the show is and how many segments is about it up to, it'll get me either close or dead on the money. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate hearing what you guys have to say, regardless of if I agree with it or not. And it's always fun having debates in the comments. All right, guys, I'll catch you later.